David Unsworth, English editor of the Pan Am Post. Today we'll be talking about the recent revelations that the U.S. government has wiretapped former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort. This is indeed a bombshell of a revelation. However, the implications of this revelation remain to be seen. Now, it turns out that this kind of opens a new angle on the Russia investigation, and it involves an element that really we have not heard about in the mainstream media at all, and that is the Ukrainian element, the Ukrainian angle. So Paul Manafort apparently was initially being surveilled by the FBI, as well as actually a consulting firm ran by brothers John and Tony Podesta. Surprise, surprise, John Podesta was also Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, that was associated with the former president of Ukraine, who was forced out in massive street protests in Kiev, the Ukrainian capital. And basically this investigation fizzled out due to a lack of evidence. So this is an important development to consider, the Ukrainian angle. What is particularly concerning about this is that there are now allegations that Robert Mueller's office has announced that there will be some kind of indictment of Manafort. Now, Manafort was forced out as Trump's campaign manager in August, 3 months before the election. And the issue of surveillance has been something of a bombshell. Trump really ruffled feathers. Well, Trump ruffles feathers every day, every week, but really ruffled feathers. It was actually the first time that former President Obama publicly commented on something related to Trump. On March 4th, Donald Trump released a series of tweets that basically said, Obama tapped my wires at Trump Tower. As it stands now, what remains to be seen is if Paul Manafort had an office at Trump Tower during the time he was apparently under wiretapping. Now, was his conversations with Donald Trump or other officials in the campaign, were they picked up on these wiretaps? It's a very interesting question. The allegations involving the Ukrainian element here with various consulting firms relate to political corruption, money laundering type charges. Apparently, Viktor Yanukovych, the former president of Ukraine who was forced out, was alleged to have squirreled away millions of dollars outside of Ukraine, and what the FBI and the Justice Department were investigating were whether or not these Washington, D.C. political consulting firms were involved in that. And those conversations ended as a result of lack of evidence. Manafort's public position is that he, quote-unquote, knowingly has never communicated with Russian intelligence operatives, and he did not knowingly participate in any collusion with Russian interests to undermine the interests of the United States. So, one thing that we do know is that the FBI was not listening in the June 2016 meeting, which was held between Jared Kushner, Manafort, Donald Trump Jr., with a Russian attorney who had promised a treasure trove of negative information about the Clinton campaign. That is likely to be a serious gap in this. That so far has been the most serious allegation from the Trump standpoint. from the standpoint of bringing charges against Trump himself. Basically what everyone, regardless of your political persuasion, your views on Trump, what everyone is basically saying at this point, it's one thing if charges are presented against someone involved in the Trump administration, but to bring charges directly against Trump or to directly implicate Trump in any of this, that's something of a long shot. We'll see what ends up happening with Manafort. It still appears very unlikely that this is going to actually end up directly impacting Trump himself. Another thing here that's very interesting to note is that Viktor Yanukovych has been he has really been completely out of the limelight. He adding this new element to the investigation is very strange at this point, and it has not been reported in the mainstream press. It has not been reported in any way, shape, or form. Now, the June 2016 meeting that involved Kushner and Paul Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer, that has proved, at least so far, to be of limited value to the investigation. Why is that? What the Russian attorney apparently did was offer a treasure trove of negative information about the Hillary Clinton campaign, and then she used that as a ploy to lobby on behalf of Russian interests as it related to various banking sanctions against top government officials. So what the Trump campaign is saying is that, well, we didn't get any information out of this meeting. Donald Trump famously said publicly that his son did the right thing to take that meeting. I don't know how many people, even Trump supporters or supporters of the Republican Party, would agree with that. It does not appear to be wise in general to meet with a foreign agent, to have a meeting with them to get a treasure trove of negative information about your opponent. However, if you're looking at the law from a technical standpoint, it's only illegal if something of value is promised in return, of monetary value. So, again, I don't believe that this is really going to go anywhere. The bottom line is, can it be proved that the Russians altered the election outcome? My answer is no. Even Obama has said the Russians did not change a single vote. It was the American people who elected Trump as president, and whatever your views on that are, there is no evidence that Russia changed the outcome of the election. I mean, what they did more than anything through their hacking was reveal the deep divisions within the Democratic Party that existed between the DNC and the DLC, the centrist Democrats that have been spearheaded and led by the Clintons for the past 25 years, and the activist base of the Democratic Party, the Bernie Sanders supporters. And you have a very, very, very deep division now in the Democratic Party. It's something we haven't seen in probably since the 1968 Chicago Convention, when you had when Lyndon Johnson didn't even run for another term, and you had the establishment wing of the Democratic Party and the anti-war wing of the Democratic Party. And at their convention, it degenerated into chaos, violence, and unruly protests. Another extremely interesting development that was reported by CNN recently is that Hillary Clinton has hinted that if there if the Russia investigation does provide any proof that Putin and hackers allegedly in his employ changed the results, she would be open to some kind of election redo. Now, it's unprecedented at a presidential level. There have been a few cases in American history where elections have been redone because there have been substantial problems with them. But again, Hillary Clinton is in fantasy land on this one. Trump is president. He's not getting impeached. He will be president until January of 2021. And we are not redoing the 2016 presidential election. So the Trump administration has said at this point, well, Mueller's investigation, it really needs to stick to Russian involvement in the 2016 election. There have been media reports, we've been reading about how Mueller is allegedly shifting the investigation or expanding the investigation to look into Trump's business dealings in Russia. Trump is a sometimes infuriating person to watch and to talk about from a political standpoint, or really from any standpoint, but the fact that Trump and his business associates and political associates have been in contact with Russians, that means absolutely nothing. The Clinton family has long-standing ties, economic and political ties, with Russia. There is absolutely no evidence. There is no evidence of any kind that Trump or anyone in the campaign was working with them on their hacking. Russia has been at the epicenter of hacking since hacking has existed for the past 30 years. They've always been expert hackers in Russia. And Putin is not a Republican or a Democrat. Maybe he preferred having Donald Trump in office. Maybe he didn't. At any rate, it appears what Trump wanted to do is sow seeds of doubt about the legitimacy of American democracy, and he succeeded spectacularly. But the idea that he hacked the election time and time again, you see this so often. He didn't hack the election. He hacked emails. He hacked John Podesta's emails. He hacked emails at the DNC, and these emails showed that the DNC violated its own precepts, its own principles, its own guidelines, that they were biased to Bernie Sanders, and Russia and the Russian hackers saw an opportunity here to sow seeds of doubt about American democracy, and they fed this information to the press. Now, the DNC has only themselves to blame for this. I mean, yes, it is not morally or ethically or legally right what Russian hackers did. I certainly don't support them. No one in the Trump administration supports them for doing this, but the DNC got what they deserved. What did they expect? I mean, the RNC, there haven't been allegations about the same thing in the RNC. There weren't allegations that they were bullying people in favor of Mitt Romney in 2012 or bullying people in favor of John McCain in 2008. This is a serious moral, ethical, and legal problem. We also found out, for example, Donna Brazile, former interim chairwoman of the DNC, was using her post as a contributor at CNN to feed questions ahead of time to Hillary Clinton in the debates, again to the disadvantage of Bernie Sanders. So there was a meme going around on the internet about this earlier this year. I actually shared it because I thought it was too good. I got accused of being an agent of Vladimir Putin, but the meme basically said, it was a picture of Vladimir Putin, and it said, Our secret plan to ruin American democracy. Tell the American people the truth about the DNC. And that's really what they did. If they're... The bottom line is this. The litmus test is this. The line in the sand is this. There needs to be some indisputable, beyond a shadow of a doubt, piece of information, some kind of document, some kind of audio recording, some kind of email, something in which Trump is discussing with Putin or with Russian intelligence or with Russian hackers, look, we need to work together on how we can hack John Podesta, how we can hack the DNC emails. Short of that, and I think that, mark my words here, September 19th, 2017, I'm saying this, that is not going to be found. If Trump actually did that, no, he should be impeached. He doesn't deserve to be president. There's no doubt about that. There is no place for foreign meddling in election. There isn't. But that is not going to be found. It just isn't. Now, is it possible that a figure like Manafort is going to be charged with something? What is likely to happen is that Manafort, if he is charged, gets charged with something that's rather arbitrary, extremely complicated, some kind of quid pro quo type thing. Those cases are also very difficult to prove, and they have a high burden of proof. The Trump, in my mind, up until now, has been rather mediocre. He's not a classical liberal. He's not a libertarian. I love him on political correctness. I love him for not being concerned about pleasing social justice warriors who run rampant on social media and accuse people of terrible things if they don't agree with them. But Trump has been fairly mediocre, I'd say, in his first 8 months in office. But, that being said, Trump is not foolish enough to get himself involved in something like that in the midst of his campaign. I mean, no one expected Trump was going to win. Trump's own campaign didn't expect that they were going to win on election night. They had no idea. No one thought that Trump was going to win on election night. So to suggest that Putin swung the election is preposterous. The reason that no one knew that Trump was going to win on election night is because people were afraid of telling pollsters and telling their friends and family and coworkers what they actually thought, because they didn't want to get called deplorables. They didn't want to have to deal with all the baggage that comes along with being a Trump supporter. So the bottom line here is, I don't think this is going anywhere. And right now at this point, we wait and see. We wait and see what happens with Manafort. Obviously, he has never been officially involved with the administration. He was out 3 months before the election took place. But as CNN notes here in this article, Trump often stays in touch with former confidants, even when they've been booted out of the inner circle. This article, for example, here references Corey Lewandowski. So is Trump going to be picked up on any of these recordings? Well, that's the million-dollar question at this point. And could it be true in some capacity that Trump was actually right, that there was wiretapping and surveillance of his campaign in one way, shape, or form at Trump Tower? Well, that could be correct as well. So this also raises, the left isn't going to like to hear this, but this also raises some very serious ethical questions as well from the point of the Obama administration. What did they know? When did they know it? And was it politically motivated that they were involved in this wiretapping of Trump campaign officials? This has been David Unsworth with the English podcast at the Pan Am Post, and thank you very much for listening.